Hi, my name is Jesse Philgrove. This presentation is on managing absenteeism in the workplace. So first off, what is absenteeism? Absenteeism is really anytime an employee is supposed to be at work, yet they are not. So this can be for a multitude of reasons like vacation or illness, could be leave, maternity leave, short-term disability of some kind, but really most often it's referred to and spoken of in the context of ill calls or call-offs. So why is absenteeism a problem? Uh, with staffing, we've all felt the effects of ill calls before. A coworker might call off and suddenly we have an extra patient to take care of or extra work to do that day for whatever reason. But also, there's a big cost to absenteeism. A company might need to staff with more expensive agency personnel. They might need to pay for extra overtime. Patients might not be as well cared for because their nurses have more patients. Absenteeism just really degrades the workplace culture, especially when it's happening frequently. This is some information from our book, Effective Leadership and Management in Nursing. Also, some from personal experience. We work in a multi-generational workforce, especially in the hospital. We have three, almost four generations of workers, nurses, aides, still all taking care of the same patients. And a lot of people have different views on absenteeism, of calling off. So looking at our oldest coworkers, our baby boomers, they grew up in a culture if you didn't work, you didn't eat. That's something my grandma told me all the time. You don't work, you don't eat. So being at work, very highly valued, and they will even pick up extra shifts to help cover staffing needs, just to make the days of their coworkers easier. We're looking at our Generation X. A lot of these nurses are now our managers. They've been working in the hospital for some time. They are, in a lot of cases, on the payroll. They're working for vacation, they're working to make money, they're striving for a good work-life balance. And so they may work extra at times, but usually it's for the overtime, for the extra money. And then millennials, this is my generation, looking at, working at staffing is what's in it for me. They a lot of the time value flexible schedules, and they really don't care so much about calling off. I know that really when I call off, I don't feel bad about it. So the concern with the strain on coworkers isn't as much of a priority, but they'll definitely pick up and work extra if needed, if there is an incentive for them. So the first article I found on this topic was a study from NYU and Stanford called Clarifying the Link Between Job Satisfaction and Absenteeism. So what is the link? They really found through the study that the more prone someone is to guilt, the less likely they are to call off, but also the higher job satisfaction someone has, the less likely they are to call off. Makes sense to me. So really, if somebody's not prone to guilt and they don't enjoy their job, they're gonna miss work a lot. They're gonna call off. So we'll answer this a little further down the road, but how do we improve job satisfaction? I don't necessarily say we want to make people feel guilty about calling off. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes you're just really sick, and that's okay. But we'll talk a little bit more about job satisfaction here. The next article I found that had a lot of useful information on this topic was called Presenteeism and Absenteeism, Differentiated Understandings of Related Phenomena. Okay, so presenteeism is the idea of going to work when you should not be at work. So for whatever reason, you're sick or you're injured, you really shouldn't be there. This study found is a Canadian national study. Two universities in Canada worked on it. So what they found was if you go to work when you really shouldn't be there, when you're sick, when you're injured, you are far less productive, and it's really not an overall benefit to the organization. So the main point that came out of this study was people should be using their sick days appropriately. Like I said before, it is okay for people to call off sick if they're really ill. That's really a standard. If you are sick, you are not going to be a value add to your organization. The next article I found was called Thriving at Work, How Organizational Culture Affects Workplace Fulfillment. So this is from a group called Towers Watson Research. They did a study and they found that when managers invest time into building a healthy culture, that is a fantastic value add. So what I mean by healthy culture, it's a place where people enjoy going to work. They feel like their work has value. They have positive relationships with their coworkers, with their manager. They really enjoy what they do and are fulfilled by what they do. So when managers put time into creating this culture, however they do that, however they create this work environment, they found it decreased absenteeism. They found that when people enjoyed the work they did, when they got good relationships with their coworkers, there was a 23% decrease in absenteeism. And the final article I found on this topic is called Improving Productivity While Managing Unscheduled Absenteeism. Now, isn't that just the goal, to get people to call off less and be more productive? So this was an article from the Healthcare Collector, it's a magazine. They had some suggestions. Mainly, managers give their staff a flexible work schedule. If people are calling off and they notice a pattern of call-offs, like say every weekend or every Friday somebody calls off, that the manager should really be conferencing with that staff member, talk to them about what's going on in their life, help out if they can. And the last thing they recommended was that managers take complaints of workplace bullying seriously. Huge issue, huge reason people call off, huge reason people are absent from work is bullying. And like I said before in the previous slide, having that negative work culture. So the big question from all this is, how do you deal with absenteeism? Couple recommendations. This is pulled together from all the articles in the book. The first couple are about, reviewing and recording the absences. So one of the suggestions that I thought was pretty good was, if someone has more than 3 unscheduled absences in 6 months, review that with them. And I think I mentioned this before, review patterns of absences. So somebody calling off, like I said, only on Fridays, or maybe every weekend they're scheduled, it really needs to be addressed, because that's not healthy for the workplace. The next couple suggestions, the manager, you as a manager just need to invest time in creating a better culture. People need to feel fulfilled by what they do. Another piece of creating a better culture is decreasing bullying. So whatever the issue is, whatever's causing the bullying, address it. Don't ignore the suggestions. Don't ignore the comments people make. I know sometimes critical conversations aren't what people want to do during their day, but it's necessary. The last suggestion of all the things was promoting a healthy workforce. So I know my employer, LGH, does a lot to promote personal health. They have walks, runs, they have employee gyms free to use, they have healthy food available for staff members. The healthier people are, the less likely they are to get sick. That's pretty simple, and less likely there is to be absenteeism. I'm going to include a link to this video along with my post. For whatever reason, in presenter mode, I can't get it to play. But anyway, we actually have this meme in the bottom right corner hung up at work. I'm taking a sick day, in quotes. I just found a couple of these pictures online. I thought they were pretty funny. People calling off when they're not sick is a real issue. It happens quite a bit these days. People don't necessarily feel bad about calling off. They still get paid with their paid time bank. And so they call off when they're not really sick because they feel like it, or for whatever reason. This leads to, greater absenteeism, like I said, a lot more cost to the organization. But I did think these were pretty funny, so I put them in here. A couple extra things. This is from one of the articles I found. Only 35% of absenteeism is actually due to illness, people being sick. 20% due to family needs, 20% due to personal needs, 15% they said was due to what's called an entitlement mentality. I am allowed to take a sick day, therefore I will take a sick day even if I'm not ill. And then 10% due to stress. Like I said, this is from the Improving Productivity article. And here are my references. Thank you so much for watching this presentation.